Most women over 60 believe intimacy changes because the body changes. They assume lower energy, hormones, or aging itself are the main reasons passion fades. But researchers studying relationships and healthy aging discovered something surprising. The moment before intimacy often matters more than intimacy itself, and most women never realize it until emotional distance, anxiety, or loneliness quietly takes over their later years. Here is the mystery few people talk about openly. Why do some women in their 60s and 70s feel emotionally connected, confident, and deeply fulfilled in relationships, while others slowly begin avoiding affection, touch, and closeness even when they still love their partner? The answer is not as simple as hormones. In fact, many experts now believe the emotional and psychological state that happens in the minutes before intimacy can completely change how the brain and body respond afterward. And once women cross 70, this hidden pattern becomes even more powerful. The clues start decades earlier. In early adulthood, many women were taught to prioritize everyone else first: family, children, marriage, work. Emotional caregiving became a lifelong habit. According to studies from the American Psychological Association, women historically carried a larger emotional burden inside relationships, often suppressing stress and personal needs to maintain harmony. At first, this seems harmless, but over time, emotional exhaustion builds quietly in the background. Then something changes in the 40s. Stress hormones increase, sleep becomes lighter, menopause approaches, confidence shifts. Many women begin feeling disconnected from their own bodies without fully understanding why. Yet most continue following outdated advice that tells them intimacy is purely physical. That advice failed millions of women. Because science eventually uncovered something older generations rarely discussed openly: emotional safety, stress levels, self-image, and mental tension directly affect physical intimacy after 60. And this is where the hidden problem begins. Researchers from the University of Chicago studying aging and relationships found that emotional connection strongly predicts intimacy satisfaction among older adults. Not appearance, not age, not perfection. Connection. But most women never learned how important the moments before intimacy truly are. Think about what often happens today. A woman spends the entire day stressed. She worries about health, bills, medications, adult children, aging parents, or loneliness. Then suddenly she is expected to switch emotionally and become relaxed, connected, and physically present within minutes. The brain does not work that way, especially after 60. Neuroscientists discovered that chronic stress keeps the nervous system in a guarded state. Blood pressure rises, muscles tighten, cortisol increases, emotional openness decreases. In simple terms, the body stays prepared for pressure instead of connection. And the shift after 70 makes this even more intense. Sleep disturbances become more common. Anxiety about aging quietly increases. Many women begin worrying about attractiveness, physical limitations, or emotional rejection. Some stop initiating affection altogether because they fear embarrassment or discomfort. This creates the first breaking point. Silence. Couples stop talking honestly about intimacy. They avoid uncomfortable conversations. They pretend distance is normal. Over time, emotional closeness slowly fades, even in loving relationships, and the fallout spreads far beyond romance. Studies from the National Institute on Aging found that emotional isolation increases risks linked to depression, cognitive decline, and reduced overall well-being. Healthy affection and emotional connection support mental health, stress reduction, and even heart health in older adults. But here is the twist most seniors never hear. The most important moment often happens before intimacy even begins. It is the emotional transition. The way a woman feels in the moments leading up to closeness determines how safe, relaxed, and emotionally open her body becomes afterward. And this is where old advice completely failed older generations. For decades, women were told to focus on appearance alone, lose weight, hide wrinkles, act younger. But modern psychology shows something different. Emotional tension blocks connection far more than physical aging. One major study found that self-criticism strongly reduces relationship satisfaction and physical confidence in older adults. In other words, the harsh inner voice many women carry becomes one of the biggest hidden barriers. And sadly, that voice often started decades earlier. Maybe it began with criticism in youth, maybe from a difficult marriage, maybe from comparing themselves to unrealistic standards for years. By the time many women reach 60 or 70, those emotional patterns become automatic. That leads to the second breaking point. Women begin disconnecting emotionally before intimacy even starts. They stay mentally distracted. They focus on flaws. They anticipate discomfort. And without realizing it, the nervous system responds by shutting down emotional openness. This is why some relationships after 60 become roommates instead of partners. Not because love disappeared, but because emotional preparation disappeared. Now here comes the part most people are waiting for. What should women actually do in the moment before intimacy? The first thing is surprisingly simple. Slow the nervous system down. Research shows deep breathing, calm conversation, gentle touch, and emotional reassurance reduce cortisol and help the body shift into a relaxed state. Even 5 calm minutes can change emotional connection dramatically. Second, remove performance pressure. Healthy intimacy after 60 is not about proving youth. It is about emotional presence. Couples who focus on affection, communication, humor, and trust often report greater satisfaction than those chasing unrealistic expectations. Third, protect emotional safety. This matters more than most people realize. If a woman feels criticized, rushed, ignored, or emotionally disconnected throughout the day, the brain remembers it. Emotional wounds do not disappear simply because the lights go off at night. And millions of older women silently carry this burden. According to national health surveys, loneliness among older adults continues rising across the United States, especially after widowhood, retirement, or major life changes. Many women crave emotional closeness, but no longer feel emotionally secure enough to ask for it openly. That silence becomes dangerous because unresolved emotional stress affects sleep, immune health, heart function, and mental well-being over time. And here is the warning experts increasingly emphasize. Never ignore persistent pain, emotional distress, or sudden changes in physical intimacy after 60. These can sometimes signal underlying medical conditions, medication side effects, hormonal changes, cardiovascular issues, or emotional health struggles that deserve professional attention. But there is another side to this story that gives many seniors hope. Researchers studying long-term couples discovered that emotional intimacy can actually deepen with age when communication improves. Older adults often report greater honesty, patience, and emotional understanding later in life than they experienced in youth. In other words, aging does not automatically destroy connection. Sometimes it finally reveals what connection was supposed to be all along, and maybe that is why so many women over 70 say the most meaningful relationships in their lives were not built on perfection. They were built on emotional safety, calmness, trust, and feeling truly seen. So, if you are over 60, here are 3 actions you can apply starting today. First, create emotional transition time before intimacy. Even 10 peaceful minutes without television, phones, or stress can help the nervous system reset. Second, replace self-criticism with self-awareness. Your body is not the enemy. Aging is not failure. Emotional confidence changes everything. Third, communicate honestly about emotional needs instead of silently carrying frustration or fear. Most couples struggle not because they talk too much, but because they stop talking entirely. And here is one final thought worth holding on to. The quality of intimacy after 60 is often determined long before physical closeness begins. It starts in the hidden emotional world most people never discuss openly. The stress you carry, the fears you hide, the emotional safety you either protect or slowly lose. In the next video, we are going to explore the subtle, emotional habits that quietly destroy long-term relationships after retirement and why so many couples never see the warning signs until it is too late. If this video gave you a new perspective, Take a moment to like and share it with someone who may need this message today. And in the comments, tell us what you believe matters most for emotional connection after 60. And if you want more deep dive insights about aging, relationships, emotional health, and the hidden truths nobody explains to seniors, subscribe now and join us for the next chapter.